Good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. It is a nice toasty morning here in Houston. We have recordings going, we have the music going, we have this lovely little sketchbook here that we finished yesterday. And so that means it is time to start a new sketchbook. I have opted for one of these little watercolor journals because we decided we're going to do ink and wash. Now, that requires a little prep. So I've got my little spritzer here. I got my little messy little watercolors. I'm going to get them wet and well in advance. I'm going to let those soak for a little while we do the composition. I am going to go ahead and do the composition in pencil just because we're going to need to do away with some of those lines later. I like to make sure and keep everything on the paper. So I like to draw a little border in to make sure I remember not to go past that except on purpose. Occasionally you want to go past that on purpose. So I ended up yesterday watching quite a few documentaries on the origin of lungs. And it's neat to me how the science has changed based on what for hundreds of years they just went with what Darwin said. Looks like it's a swim bladder that's been modified, and it turns out the latest thinking is lungs came first, and that's interesting. What do you mean lungs came first? Well, there are genetics involved with lungs that all fish with swim bladders have. But the genetics that fish with swim bladders have is not in all fish with lungs. So they're saying that suggests lungs came first. Which I think is pretty neat. If you live in an area where oxygen is low in the water and you've got to have oxygen, being able to come up and gasp for air is pretty neat adaptation. And then later on, being able to utilize that adaptation to control the depth of your swimming is also pretty neat. But I do not like it when they say this is an absolute fact. This is how it was. There's no doubt about it. There's no argument whatsoever, because turns out there is quite a bit of argument about it. If you have 5 evolutionary biologists in a room, you will get 10 different opinions on how something came about. Terribly funny to me. We're just about finished with the composition here. We just want to make sure that everything that we want to add to the design makes it to the design. This is from a safari kit that had hearts and lungs and livers and kidneys. And I bought the original kit, and then I bought a big bag of them. So I have a bunch of extra ones. Girl 2 and I today are going to spend some time going through the randomogrifier and removing a lot of duplicates. I noticed by starting to do this every morning, I noticed that, so I would pull out one, and then a couple of weeks later I would pull out another of the exact same thing. And it's because of things like you buy the Powhatan Indian set, and you get a campfire, you get a wagon wheel, you get all kinds of different things that goes with it, and then you buy the Frontier set and you also get a campfire and wagon wheel and all kinds of stuff that goes with it. So now you've got 2 campfires, 2 wagon wheels, and that wouldn't be a bad thing, except like the walrus, for instance. I drew a walrus a couple of weeks ago, and yesterday I pulled another walrus out. I've done 2 mermaids in the last 6 weeks. And when I threw the walrus back, I got another mermaid. And so it is kind of frustrating to keep getting the exact same thing. It doesn't look very random if I keep getting the exact same thing. And you know, it's like you buy a kit for Antarctic animals, and you get penguins. And you buy South American birds, you get more penguins. And then you buy cold weather animals, you get more penguins, and you get walruses, and you get seals and sea lions, and then you buy pinnipeds, and you get seals and sea lions. So we're going to go through and remove all the duplicates. That sounds like a good time to me. Now, the joy of ink and wash is if we're wrong at this point, there's nothing you can do about it. It's there now. This is what we live with. So if we have the composition just a little bit off, if we have the shape just a little bit off, Well, that's what makes it an illustration. Alright, I got my water brush. I have my watercolors, which should be nice and creamy. Now we have to figure out how are we going to get that pink color? And how important is it that it actually be pink? I mean, it is very, very, very it's a nice flesh color. It should be just a touch. Let's add a little sepia to it. We want it very watered down. And then you have to be careful not to spread the inks around. Or maybe you want to spread the inks around. You can use that in your shadows. How are we doing on time? See, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this on a Tuesday morning. We may have to limit this to weekends, because I have a company meeting I have to attend on Tuesday mornings. I'm not sure I will have time to do all this on Tuesdays. Because you can see the ink is already bleeding. So let's go ahead and start adding in some. Let's see, which blue do I want to go with? Do I want to go with this blue? Let's go with this blue. I find that if you have a warm light, having cool shadows is the most fun. So we're going to put some spots of blue in here where the shadows are the darkest. Oh my goodness. Can't talk, Harding. Anyway, back to what we were saying about lungs. I thought it was very interesting that how much they have changed their position since starting Project Genome, where they've started mapping out the genes of things. Because this is stuff that was accepted forever, right? There are textbooks out there that firmly state lungs are an adaptation of swim bladders, And that's the science, and the science is settled. And without getting too political, science is never settled. Somebody tells you the science is settled, it's somebody who doesn't understand science. Because that's not how science works. That is not how science works. I would really like to have one of those cough mic buttons, cough buttons that radio DJs have, where I could hold the button down and nobody could hear me cough or sneeze. Alright, so let's go back in and see if we can't darken up the shadows. See, it's still wet. That's the problem. It's still wet. But we want to make sure that our shadows are darkest where they contact. Like that. We still have 12 minutes. I could take a hairdryer to it. I could take a hairdryer to it, because we still have 12 minutes. And maybe I should take a hairdryer to it. That was a mistake. Let's see if we can lift some of that back out. We may not be able to lift some of that back out, but we can darken what's around it. Oh wait. What if we did this? Now that was helpful. Alright. actually about there. I probably will need to use the hairdryer though. Otherwise I won't be able to come back in with the final layer of ink. May have to swap out for a finer water brush, but we're learning, right? This is a new experiment. We're learning. I kind of want that background to not be white. So let's make that background not be white. I don't know what happened there, but we're going to call it a happy accident. Trying not to reactivate whatever paint and ink is already dried, but we don't care if some paint and ink that's still wet blends a little bit. So what we're trying to do is make that lung brighter. By making the background not white. We make the lung a little brighter. Alright, I think I am going to hair dry it. Just because we can. Doesn't take much. So my mom's in the chat. She said it would be difficult to do something with a great deal of detail on a weekday. But you know what? We're still, I still have 5 minutes till 6. So truthfully, I don't know. Let's give it a couple of days before we give up on it, because I mean I'm finishing on time. And the worry is that if it takes too long, you'll say, "Oh, I don't have time for it," and then you don't do it. can't do it today, I don't have the time. And then you miss that one day, and then it becomes 7 years, and you haven't done it in 7 years. And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? But yeah, if it takes too much time, I won't be able to get it done in time to go to work. So that's the real question, is am I going to be able to do this on a weekday and get it done in time to go to work? This one didn't have a whole lot of detail, but it has some detail, right? And we still managed to get it done well within the time frame. I haven't used this pen in a while. I'm not sure this pen's going to do what I want it to do, but we're going to try. Can't talk, Harding. Alright. I have to call it. Does it look like a lung? Is this the direction we want to go? I'm using, my mom's asking what kind of ink I'm using. I'm using Higgins fountain pen ink. It's a water-soluble ink. Today's the 24th. I mean, it's the first one. Do we let that tell us which way to go? There's only 24 pages in here. We could do this for a month and see where it goes. Stand on my head for a month. Like my grandpa used to say. I can stand on my head for that long. So let's see if we can compare it to the original object there. Let's go to, I think this one? Yeah, that one's the one. And let's see how it compares to the original object. I mean, it's still illustrative, it's still a drawing. But if you didn't have the lungs next to it, could you tell it was lungs? And I'm not too sure you could. I mean, I could, but if you didn't have the lungs next to it. But with the lungs next to it, that's pretty close to what I saw too. So let's take the picture together. So back to the question. My mother asked what kind of pen and ink. I've got a platinum ultra fine or a platinum fine tip, and then this is, I have no idea what this was. Man, I have no idea. I bought this a long time ago. This is an ultra fine pen for doing cross hatching. The ink is, like I said, Higgins fountain pen ink, which is water soluble, so that you can clean your fountain pen. So there is the finished product. I'm not sure. Let's give it a few days. Let's see how we feel about it. Let's see how we feel about it in a couple of days. You know, maybe I have one more of those visual journal sketchbooks like we've been using. You know, maybe we just go straight back to fountain pen. Maybe we try it tomorrow with just a fountain pen and a splash of color instead of doing it completely like this. We will see. Let's play with it for a month and see where we want to go. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. You know I look forward to this every day. We do it every day at 5:30 in the morning. This is Sketch and Coffee Live. We do it every day 5:30 in the morning. Join us tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, and that way I know the lag has caught up with the stream and I don't have to worry about being cut off in mid